Alright, I'm going to do a video here of some shake and pour brownie mix. And I think also I'm going to try and make an icing for the top of my brownies while they're baking. So we'll see how this goes. I have everything laying out here on the table that I would need. I just need to get it up and going, and I'll show you as we go here. I'm going to do, this is 13.75 ounces of brownie mix. I'm going to do half of that, otherwise I'd have a huge thick brownie, and that wouldn't taste very good to me. So I'm going to do about half of it. I'm guessing I'll get, a little over half of this thing in height. So we'll give that a try. I'm going to show you how I make some icing for the top of them, and I'll get back with you in just a moment. We're going to go ahead and start by greasing our pan and pouring our mix in. Alright, we've got our mix all ready to go there. And we've got our Moab going underneath from the squirrel cage. I'm ready to go. Got to center this up a little bit. Got to be careful, that's probably pretty hot already. Looks good. We're going to go ahead and drop this in there now. Make sure that's centered up in there. D-rings on top. Got my grabbers for when it's done. Place our lid on there. And this says 325 for 26 minutes. 26 to 29 minutes. So we'll give it the 26 minutes and then we'll let it sit. It is now 34. Which would be what? 6 o'clock, right? 26 minutes will be 6 o'clock in the morning. So we'll be done at 6 o'clock, or at least we'll take it off the fire at 6 o'clock and see where we stand. What we're going to do while that's going is we're going to mix up make our own icing for the top of this brownie using powdered sugar, cocoa, and Crisco. So I don't know if anybody's ever had homemade icing made out of these three ingredients, but when we were kids, that's how we used to make it. I'm not sure if it's the healthiest thing for you, but it is how we made it when we were kids. So I'm going to go ahead and make some chocolate icing and get that ready while we're waiting for the brownie, to finish. Back in a minute. Alright, so I had to pull it out. I'm not sure if it was done yet, but I had to pull it out because I started smelling something burn. There was smoke starting to come out. I had this trouble all the time. I think I'm using too big of a, the Moab, I think it's just too big of a stove to dry bake on. I need to switch. I had the bongo in there yesterday, but I switched to the Moab, and I should have left it on the bongo. It's a smaller stove. More for baking, I guess, especially since this only called for 325 on a temperature and not 400. So now I'm actually letting this finish this cooking stage, hopefully enough to finish it up in the next 10 minutes here. I actually had to pull it off 5 minutes early. It's 5:55, and the center is definitely not done. But we're going to let it go like this for 10 minutes and see if the heat helps cook the center a little bit. Anyways, while that's cooking, while that's finishing, I'll explain what I did here. I made about 1/4 cup of icing, which is way too much for this. It's definitely a cake icing type icing. It's not a I don't know what they call it, a glaze icing. So it's pretty good. The thing is, I remember what I was missing. So Crisco, powdered sugar, cocoa, and the other ingredient that I was missing was vanilla. And I looked to see if I had any liquid vanilla here, and I did not have any that was acceptable. My vanilla was probably about 3 years old, so I did not put it in there. It actually smelled like an alcohol. It was so strong. I assume it fermented in the bottle while it was sitting in the drawer. So we're going to go ahead and let that finish. About 10 more minutes, see if it's done. And we're going to put some icing on it after it cools off. And then we're going to give it a try. And I think we'll see how it tastes. Alright, so we've let it sit for a good 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, I can grab it a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and use the, let's see if I can grab it with my finger gear. I can't grab it there. There we go. If I tilt it up, I can. But it's hard to control since I'm right-handed and that's left-handed. So, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to grab it with this. Can't grab it that either. You're going to hold the camera. And I'm going to do it with 2 pieces of material. That way I can grab it. Because it's still a little bit on the warm side. We're going to turn it upside down and see if she falls out easy enough. Yeah, I was right. It was starting to burn around the edges just a little bit. So you can see in the bottom down here. Not completely stuck, but it started to burn a little bit. So it was good that I got it out when I did. It was a little earlier than I thought it would have been. So that's all kind of burnt crust. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, it's definitely a burnt crust down there. I need to switch to a lower flame on my stove so it's not so hot, because this burnt crust on here isn't going to taste any good. Luckily it was just a very thin 1/16 of an inch outer layer, and I don't have to eat it because I can cut it right off. Real simple. Started to smell up the house really fast when it was doing that. The smoke was rolling out of the top of that thing really quick, and I was like, oh no, burn! Get it out quick. How bad is it down the sides? About the same on the sides, about a 1/16 inch all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off there. Then I'm going to show you how I icing it up, which is actually not easy for a cake like this. You have to let it come down real cool before you icing it. Generally I'm not cutting off the edges of my cake before I icing them. But in this case, I'm going to, so I don't want to eat the burnt brownie. It looks really good, except that just that thin lighter layer. I'm glad I caught it when I did. There you go, all cleaned up. All that is the outer edge being burnt on the outer edge, and I probably won't eat any of that, but won't stop me from eating the rest of it. So, too hot to icing, so we're going to turn the camera off and come back when it cools down. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get the icing on here. Looks like we got a little bit started here, so just want to show you how I'm doing this. I generally, with a cake that has a crumb part to it, will crumb out if you don't. You generally just want to pull the icing across. You don't want to try and wipe it back and forth. You'll make a mess. So, just constantly pull all the time. You see how I'm pulling crumbs off? You never want to go back and forth, because if you go back and forth, you'll pull crumbs up all the way around. This icing could be whipped up a little bit, but it takes a lot to whip it up by hand. You'd have to have a fork and some real strong forearms to whip it up real good. But it actually works pretty good either way. If you don't whip it up, it's okay. I didn't quite make enough to do the sides, but that's okay. It was just for, and that's pretty thick on the top anyway, so we're going to just finish it off and be done with it here, and then we're going to cut up and have some little dessert. Wouldn't you be the star of the campground if you came in with a cake on somebody's birthday? Now we just need a candle. Alright. It's ready to go. Want to eat some? He said yes. Let's see if it's done on the inside. Oh, it's a little doughy. I was worried about that. Alright, so it didn't get quite done in the very dead center. Let's lift it up and see here. Yep, right in the center right there. It wasn't quite done. Alright, but it won't stop me from eating it. Still looks good. Talk to you guys later.